If you want to help people, but what's holding you back is being seen, today's episode is for you. You've written the post, you recorded the video, you know the message is good, but as your finger starts to hover over that share button or you're about to go live, something happens. You start hearing your heart racing, your throat gets really tight, and you suddenly find every reason not to hit that send. Because when you hit that send, it will go out into the world. If you want to know why you keep getting stuck in your business right at that finish line of hitting send, make sure you keep watching because today we are going to be talking about the exposure gap. When we talk about the exposure gap, I want you to think, have you ever felt like you're driving your business with the emergency brake pulled halfway up? You have the strategy, you're driving, you have the car, but something just keeps getting you stuck along the way. You know where you're going to go, you know what you need to do to drive, but there's just that pull that makes it hard to get to the finish line, to get to your destination. This can be very hard because a lot of times when it happens, we start to put ourselves down. We call it procrastination, we call it laziness, we call it all of these things. But at the end of the day, it is this barrier that gets in the way, and we don't need to call ourselves names. We just need to acknowledge the barrier. And as a psychologist and a business coach, I see this every day with high performers, especially because you aren't hitting this wall because you lack discipline. You're motivated, you do things, you're constantly moving, but you're hitting a biological ceiling. And this biological ceiling is actually our brain trying to protect us from being visible to other people, which oftentimes goes against what we are trying to do in our businesses. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to close that gap between your ambition and your comfort zone so that you can finally move at the speed that you are capable of. So we have to understand one simple truth when we're looking at this. Your brain, it doesn't care about your impact or your followers. Its only job is to keep you alive. So when you are preparing to go live or to share your expertise, you are entering the exposure gap. And this is a physiological space where your business goals outpace your nervous system's sense of safety. It feels more visible and it feels like it is being exposed to the wild. And it equates attention with vulnerability. So, this is a hardwired part of our brain that tries to keep us safe. And if we feel vulnerable or exposed, it will take action. And so, the moment that you think about being seen, your internal security guard, it starts screaming out loud and it sends the signal to your brain that says, danger, get away, don't hit that send. And this gets our heart racing, right? It gets our breathing to be more shallow and our brain interprets that as something is wrong. And so it goes into this sense of survival. And this is why you can't mindset your way out of these biological sensations or reactions. And you can't just think your way out of that physiological alarm. That is why we actually have to first focus on regulating our way out, because this is just a natural response. So when we do this, in order to bridge that exposure gap and to hit that send, we have to manually override that alarm system. And the most effective way to do this is through a long exhale. And I know all of the time I say a breathing exercise, people want to come at me and say, oh, that breathing, everyone says breathing, breathing, breathing. But there is psychology, there's a ton of data behind breathing and actually how it helps your sympathetic nervous system. It helps your sympathetic nervous system by activating your parasympathetic nervous system. These are all just big words, basically saying The system that tells you to run or to fight, that is getting activated when when you're thinking about hitting the send. And what we want to do is we want to activate the rest and safety system, the part of our system that says, oh, I can breathe, I can do this, I can think, I don't have to go into alert. And so a long exhale actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is opposite of the fight or flight. And this helps your brain understand I am actually safe. I am in control. So, this isn't just a calming exercise, it's actually a neurological reset, and it brings your prefrontal cortex back online so that you can speak from your expertise rather than your anxiety or your emotions. So, the next time that you're hoovering over that button, don't wait for the fear to go away. Instead, focus on exhaling until you can't breathe out anymore. And then breathe in and then breathe out and hit the send. Because as you're doing that, you're letting your body know that you are safe, even though this feels uncomfortable. So here is the secret. Growth isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming regulated. Let me repeat that. Growth is not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming regulated. The most successful entrepreneurs I know aren't people who don't feel the panic. They are people who know how to talk their nervous system down or help their nervous system go down or to get off that ledge so that they can get back to work. And if you keep trying to push through that exposure gap without those tools of regulation, you will burn out because you're just trying to push through and you're not actually acknowledging what's going on in your body. When you try to fight your own biology every single day, it causes your brain to keep fighting back, saying, see, this isn't safe. This isn't safe. So now we are taking control and working through this exposure gap in a way that makes sense. So if you've been stuck in this exposure gap, just remember to take that breath. But it's not about taking the breath, it's actually about exhaling. And do that until you notice that your heart rate has gone down a little bit, and then hit send. And over time, that is going to help rewire your system to see that this is not an actual threat. It is just a perceived threat. Now, once you bridge that gap and start showing up, a new challenge usually appears, which is the fear of judgment. These typically go hand in hand. Because once you are visible, how do you handle the weight of what people might think? And that is exactly what we're going to be tackling in week 2 of this series, where we are going to be looking at different fears that get in the way of building businesses successfully and having that consistent change. All right, so make sure you hit that subscribe so that you don't miss week 2, and I will see you then.